Last time we talked about angles, and now we're going to go into more specific and talk about pairs of angles, so when two angles are together. First of all, there are two special types of pairs of angles. The first is when I have two angles that when you put them next to each other, they add up to 90. When you have two angles that add up to 90, we call those complementary. So complementary angles up to 90. So for example, if I have a 40-degree angle and a 50-degree angle, those add together to equal 90, so we say they are complements. So complementary angles are two angles that add up to 90. If I know one angle and I want to find its complement, that simply means what angle plus this angle equals 90. So to find the complement, I just do 90 minus the angle I know, and I get the angle I'm missing. So if I want to find the complement of 70, I just do 90 minus 70, that would be 20. Now, if I have two complements that are congruent, remember congruent means that they have the same measure, and they are complementary, that means they add up to 90 and they're the same angle, then I just do 90 divided by 2, so that would be 45 degrees. So if they're both congruent and complementary, then they have to be 45 degrees. Supplementary means two angles that when I put them next to each other, they add up to 180, which remember is a straight line. So if I want to find the supplement, if I know one angle and I want to find its supplement, then I just do 180 minus the angle I know, that gives me the supplement. So if I want to find the supplement of 100, I do 180 minus 100, so the supplement of 100 is 80. So an angle plus its supplement have to equal a 180. A lot of people get mixed up complement and supplement. Remember, complement is C, that comes before S, so C is the lower, C goes with 90, S is bigger, so S goes with 180. If I have an acute angle has both a complement and a supplement, because I can do 90 minus 70 equals 20, that's its complement. 180 minus 70 is 110, that's its supplement. If I have an obtuse angle like 100, that only has a supplement. You can't have a complement of 100 because there's no positive number that I can add to 100 to get 90 because 100 is already bigger than 90. So obtuse angles, angles that are bigger than 90, do not have complements. They only have supplements. Acute angles have both complements and supplements. So to find the complement, do the angle minus 90 minus the angle, that gives you the complement. To find the supplement, do 180 minus the angle, that gives you the supplement. Now, what angle is congruent and supplementary? So what are the two of the same angles that add up to 180? Well, I do 180 divided by 2. So the angle that is both congruent and supplementary is 90 degrees. The next type of pairs of angles is adjacent. Adjacent just means right next to each other. So adjacent angles are angles that share a common ray that is between them. So notice ray AC is in both this angle, angle ABC, and an angle CAD. So they share a common ray. Now the ray has to be between them. Notice angle ABD, which is the big angle, and angle ACD, which is the smaller angle. They both share angle ray AD. They both have this ray in them, right? So this angle and this big angle both have the bottom ray, but they are not adjacent. They are not next to each other. So in order for them to be adjacent, they have to have a common ray, but the ray has to be between them. If the ray is at the end, then they are not adjacent. So angle ABC and CAD would be adjacent, but angle CAD and BAD, the bigger angle and the smaller angle inside it, even though they have the same one, since at the end, that is not adjacent. Another type of angles that are formed when I have lines. So if I have two lines that are intersecting just means they cross each other at one point. When two lines cross each other at one point, they make four angles. So you can see there's one angle here, one angle here, one angle here, and one angle here. The angles that are across from each other, so this angle, and then this angle and this angle, we call vertical. So if they're across from each other, those are vertical. Vertical angles are always congruent. That means they have the same measure. So if this is, let's say this is 100 degrees, the angle across from it, its vertical, will also be 100 degrees. If this is 80 degrees, then the angle across from it, its vertical angle, is also 80 degrees. Also, adjacent angles in intersecting lines, so if we have intersecting lines, the adjacent angles, the angles that are next to each other, form a straight line, right? So they are supplementary, so they add up to 180. So if I know one angle, let's say that I know that this angle is 50 degrees. The two lines are intersecting. If this is 50 degrees, I can figure out all the other three angles. How? Well, I know the angle that is vertical across from it on the other side that's going to be congruent, so that's also 50 degrees. Then I know that the angle next to it, adjacent to it, is supplementary. So if I do 180 minus 50, I get, 130 degrees. And then I know that the one across from that is also 130 degrees. So if I know just one, I can figure out the other three. The one across is going to be the same. The other two are going to be supplements to that angle. 180 minus that will give you the other two. Perpendicular lines means I have intersecting lines, but when they intersect, all four angles are right angles. So perpendicular lines will always make a T, and all four of the angles will be right angles, which again means 90 degrees. Parallel lines are lines that never intersect. So these lines, even if they were to go on forever and ever, they would never ever cross each other. Those are called parallel lines. Now, sometimes I have parallel lines that are cut by another line. Another line goes across and then intersects them. The line that crosses two other lines, whether or not they're parallel, if you have one line that's crossing at least two, it could be three or four, but at least two other lines, we call that a transversal. So this line right here is a transversal. These are parallel, this is a transversal. So if I have parallel lines being cut by a transversal, notice that it forms 8 different angles. These angles have some special names. So first of all, the area that is between the parallel lines, all of these angles that are between the parallel lines, those are inside, we call those interior angles. So 3, 4, 5, and 6 are all interior because they are between the parallel lines. The ones that are on the outside, 1, 2, 7, and 8, those are exterior angles because they are outside of the parallel lines. If an angle is on opposite sides of the transversal, so 7 and 8, or 5 and 6, 3 and 4, 1 and 4, anything that's on an opposite side of the transversal, we call those alternate angles. So interior is between the parallel lines, exterior is outside the parallel lines, alternate means it's on the other side of the transversal. Corresponding means it's on the same side of the transversal and on the same side of the parallel line. So basically they're in the same location is corresponding. So angle 1 is on the top left, and down here angle 5 is on the top left. So they are corresponding. What angle would correspond with 3? Well, 3 is on the bottom left, so the bottom left here is 7. So 3 and 7 would be corresponding. 2 and 6, 4 and 8 would all be corresponding. Now, sometimes I can combine these. So for example, alternate, remember that's the opposite side, interior angles. So alternate interior angles, these, remember, are all interior. So if I have 3, the angle that is alternate on the other side and interior is 6. So 3 and 6 are alternate interior, and then 5 and 4 are alternate interior. Alternate exterior are outside and on the opposite side, so 1 and 8, and then 7 and 2 are alternate exterior. Corresponding, we already went over that, all of these are going to be congruent. If it's alternate interior, 3 and 6, 4 and 5, or alternate exterior, 1 and 8, 2 and 7, those will all be the same angle to each other. Finally, I can figure out any other angle if I just know one angle when I have two parallel lines being cut by a transversal. How do we do that? It's actually really simple. And I can use either these or these. I'm going to use these three rules down here. First of all, I know that every acute angle in this figure is going to be equal. Remember, acute is less than 90. So which ones are acute? Well, 2 and 3 and 6 and 7. All of those are acute angles, so all of them are going to be the same. All obtuse angles, which ones are obtuse? 1 and 4 and 5 and 8. All of those will be the same. So in this, really, I'm only going to have two different degrees. All of the acute are the same, all of the obtuse are the same. And how can I figure it out? So if I know one acute, I know all of the acute. How do I figure out an obtuse if I know one of the acute? Well, I know any obtuse plus any acute add up to 180, so I just subtract from 180. So for example, if I know this one is obtuse, that's 100, every other obtuse is 100. This is 100, this is 100, this is 100. How do I figure out an acute? Well, I know that next to each other are supplementary, so 180 minus 100, this is 80. So every other acute is 80. It's that simple. So if you know one angle, you can easily figure out every other angle. If the angle you know is acute, you know all the other acute angles are the same. And then the obtuse angle, I just subtract from 180. And it's that simple. So for your lesson, just make sure you read the instructions carefully, and you should be able to do well on this lesson. Don't forget the questions on page 496 that you will need a protractor for.